There have been many legendary underworld figures over the decades, those select few gangsters who seize the public's imagination and become especially notorious. But few achieve that status at a young age. Imagine building a formidable empire from nothing in the heart of one of the world's most dangerous ganglands, being so fierce you warrant assassination, and then are mythologized and enshrined to such an extent the federal government intervenes to try and quash the hero worship, all while still a teenager. The mob reporter here with the story of Emanuele Sibillo, the so-called baby boss, whose shrine in the historic center of Naples, home to Italy's deadly and dangerous Camorra Mafia, was raided this week and forcibly dismantled, while almost 24 of his young acolytes were arrested in an anti-mafia probe. Let me tell you about it. It's been 6 years since Sibillo was struck in the back in an ambush on the street. The shots came in the middle of the night while he was out with his pals, who are also his criminal associates. His buddies desperately rushed him to a hospital on their motorbikes, but nothing could be done. He was just 19 years old. Since then, his ashes have been enshrined in an altar on the streets he once rode, treated like a religious relic of a saint. Some came there to worship his memory, sprawling graffiti to keep his name alive and remembering his face through photos and a statue, complete with his beard and the heavy glasses he wore. Others, it is said, were victims of his extortionate gang, forced to come and kneel at the shrine to enforce their humility and compliance as they paid their street tax to the men who were once just boys, like Sibillo. Police couldn't take it any longer and this week came and forced to remove it. It sparked confrontation with his family, as captured here by local news cameras. "Everyone get out," this man shouts. "He's dead enough." It's remarkable how we got here. Sibillo grew up in a city that was constantly wrenched by alarming violence, as Camorra factions fought for control of territories and rackets in a crowded gangland. The Camorra, despite being one of the oldest mafias of Italy, has little in the way of centralized power, leading to fractured clans, sometimes even rival clans within the same family. By 2010, Sibillo had chosen the life he wished to live. At the age of 15, police arrived at his house, and he was caught tossing 2 handguns out of a window. He did a stint in a community group home, from where he fled. Caught and locked up again, he began to stand out for being studious and thoughtful. He flirted with being a journalist. He is seen here in a clip that seems to be for a journalism class, which was found and shown in an Italian documentary. In it, he displays the boldness to confront an official with hard questions about government support for young people who have had troubles with the law. And at the same time, he shows the unmistakable shyness of youth.
Un futuro di giornalista. Grazie.
By 2012, he was back on the street. He became active at a time when gangland was changing. Many of the recognizable Camorrista bosses were fugitives, dead or in prison. It left space on the city's streets where the young and the ballsy could move, and move they did, quick and darting, like little fish. In fact, in Italy they became known as the paranza dei bambini. A paranza is an old type of coastal fishing boat from which fishermen cast wide nets and drew in a mixed bag teeming with all manner of small fish and shrimps. In the criminal context around Naples, it became a term for the young gangbangers teeming in the streets. The little fish, or small fries, so to speak, who had big dreams of underworld glory. That criminal context was made famous by writer Roberto Saviano, most famous for his book on the Camorra called Gomorrah, which spawned a TV series of the same name. He also wrote on the baby gangs. In Italian, it was called La Paranza dei Bambini. The English translation captures the intent, the piranhas. These kids demanded the entitlements of being a gangster with the gusto and carelessness of youth. They had no time for the quiet life of omerta and the low profile of a traditional boss. They wanted their cachet immediately, and spending it just as quick, living loud, proud, and openly in charge. seemingly drawing as much inspiration from the Mexican and South American cartels as they did their own mafia traditions. They recruited by sharing their exploits through social media. A prosecutor from the region said that the boys of Naples once played football with each other in the streets, but the allure of gang life changed all that. They now shoot each other on the same patches of pavement. On the street, Sibillo used the moniker ES-17, and people gravitated to him. The young looked up to him, his contemporaries did his bidding, and those older, well, they soon had to listen to him as well. He became an example, a leader, an idol, and he also became a brand. He grew his beard long and shaved the sides of his head, a look his acolytes soon copied. He wore dark, heavy glasses. His look was certainly distinctive, certainly in Naples, although perhaps not so much in Baghdad. Was the beard compensating for his youth, masking his baby face? Was he emulating someone or something, revolutionaries like Fidel Castro? The Russian monk Rasputin? Some suggested he was imitating the look of jihadis, so popular in the media at the time, perhaps for shock value. In any case, by 2013 he had a seat at the table with Camorra leaders, as the boss of a new micro-clan within the Secondeliano alliance. By the age of 18, he was recognized as a leading boss of the fearless baby gangs, even though he wasn't the strongest, his group wasn't the biggest, and his territory far from the largest. It seems he just had the best branding. Maybe he learned something after all studying media and journalism. The power of image, the strength of ideas, the impact of a photo, and well-chosen words. He forged an alliance with the Giuliano clan, a once dominating Camorra group whose power base was in the center of Naples for decades. The Giuliano clan was losing ground in its traditional stronghold neighborhoods to their rivals, the Mazzarella clan. But the Mazzarella had baby gangs of their own, and the kids would clash on the streets and in the alleyways of Naples. Dozens died, dozens more were arrested, but there seemed no end to new recruits. On July 2, 2015, in the middle of the night, Sibillo was with his friends when they were ambushed in the street. His death galvanized the young in the streets of Naples. He was far from the first baby gangster to die, not even the first baby boss to fall in these street battles. But his life, his death, it meant something to the young in Naples. Sibillo's followers continued on, still known as the Sibillo clan. His brother Pasquale was a big part of that. Here is Pasquale, under arrest, just 4 months after his brother's death. Later, police say, Pasquale continued to issue orders to the clan from prison. Meanwhile, the ashes of Emanuele Sibillo were placed in an alcove in the courtyard where his family lives in the center of Naples. It's off a narrow alley near a school. It was secured by iron gates with handles in the shape of his initials. There was a bust of his face, photos and letters, flower boxes, and a large painting of the Madonna, the Virgin Mary, Mother of Jesus. It became an altar, an underworld shrine. Authorities say victims of the clan's extortion and racketeering had to come deliver their piso, the illegal payments forced by the mob from businesses to be left alone to operate in their turf. The businessmen were expected to bow or kneel at the altar, police said, and pay homage to ES-17 as well as money to the clan he forged. Those who refused met violence and threats, bullets and bombs, authorities allege. On April 28, 2021, authorities had had enough with this hero worship. They said the altar was used as a tool of extortion, making it a criminal apparatus rather than a private family memorial. It was the featured part of a civic crackdown on public displays praising Naples mobsters, as federal police officers and the fire brigade came for ES-17's altar. Metal saws cut through the gate. Everything but the painting of the Madonna were removed. As the second part of their message to the baby gangs, 21 people were arrested, accused of belonging to the Sibillo clan. The charges include mafia association, extortion, drug dealing, possession of firearms, receiving stolen goods, and exploitation. Meanwhile, life and death go on in Naples without Sibillo and the media distraction of him as the baby boss. With each passing day, those of his generation who survive achieve something Sibillo never could. They age. They live. They have a life. If Emanuele Sibillo was alive today, he'd be in his mid-20s. We'll never know what he could have achieved. No matter how much a new generation of baby gangsters venerate Sibillo and romanticize the drama of his life, they might one day learn that valuable lesson. Thanks for watching.